Hey, what's up guys? Anton here from Dropship Lifestyle, and in today's episode of Dropship Weekly, I want to share some tips on outsourcing for e-commerce. Now, if you're watching this video, you might already have an e-commerce business and you might be trying to step back or step away from it. And if you're watching it, maybe you're also just thinking about e-commerce and how it could be automated and how you can outsource a lot of the day-to-day stuff. And that's really what I want to talk about and what I want to share with you. I definitely feel like I have a good amount of experience on this because I've been building e-commerce stores for about a decade now. And what's funny is the reason I originally got into e-commerce to begin with was because of really how automated things can become. Really good book here. You've probably heard of it. I think everyone in the world has by now. I'm not sure if you could see that. It's called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Awesome book, came out in 2007, and when I first read this, it was actually pitched to me as a travel book from one of my buddies. He was big into traveling, he knew I liked to travel, and he's like, hey, this really cool book came out that could show you, how to travel the world for cheap. And I was like, all right, I'll check that out. I was like a 21-year-old kid at the time. And I bought this book, and the travel part didn't stick out to me. What really stood out to me was a chapter on building an e-commerce store and a chapter on how to run Google Adwords. Now, back at this time, I had a business. I had a delivery route for a bakery in Brooklyn, New York. And I would literally drive from Long Island, where I'm from, into Brooklyn every day. I would load the truck up with cookies. I would drive it back to Long Island, and I would sell these things to different grocery stores. It was the worst business in the world, and I spent $25,000 to have it. Then this book came out. I learned about outsourcing. I learned about virtual assistants. I learned about e-commerce, and I took that business, that offline physical delivery route business, I turned it into an internet store, started using outsourcers, started using VAs, started using applications and tools, and basically turned it into something super profitable that didn't require much work from me at all. So guys, a lot of the things that I've done since then over this past decade have been an evolution of that, and that's what I want to share with you in this week's episode of Dropship Weekly. So basically how this is going to work is that I have a list of different tasks that happen every single day in an e-commerce business, and basically I'm going to tell you what my advice is for whether or not you should outsource them, right? So let's start with support, okay? Customer support. Should you outsource this? My answer is 100% yes. In fact, customer support should be the first thing you outsource, right? You could build a 7-figure business by yourself, but not if you're tied to support. Not if you're the person on live chat, not if you're the person on the phone, not if you're the person responding to emails all day. And I totally get it. Like for me personally, when I first got into e-commerce, honestly, it was really hard for me to outsource this because I thought, well, no one's going to treat my customers as well as I can, and this should be my responsibility. But then I realized after literally a lot of time that the one main thing that was blocking growth from my business is that I spent too much time dealing with support. Now, again, this can include updating customers on their orders. This can include even taking orders over the phone. It all is important, and it really is how you'll grow your business long term, but it doesn't have to be you, okay? You didn't start your business to work customer service only, so go ahead, outsource this as soon as you're profitable. In my opinion, it's something that it's a must do. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is web design, okay? So literally creating your website, updating your website. This is something, guys, that unless you have a web design skill, unless you consider yourself a creative person, and I guess unless other people also consider you a creative person, this is something you should go ahead and outsource, okay? You don't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on web design, which maybe you believe that now. I know when I first started, I thought it would cost me literally thousands and thousands of dollars to build a site, and it definitely can. I mean, you can go to some designers right now and say, hey, I want an e-commerce store, and they'll give you a quote of $50,000, $100,000. It happens all the time, but you don't have to pay that much. Okay, we have our in-house web designer, who's actually my sister Laura, and she builds sites for $1,500. Gorgeous sites, amazing sites that convert really well. But again, this is something you don't have to outsource, but I would recommend outsourcing if web design isn't a strong skill of yours. It's not for me. And I should also mention, you can definitely get sales with the site that doesn't look great, but you'll get more sales if you have a site that's built by a professional. Okay, it's something that it's worth it. It's worth the investment, definitely, especially if you're trying to build a real business through e-commerce. Next thing, guys, copywriting. Okay, you might think with e-commerce there's not a lot of copywriting that goes into it. I'm referring to things like a custom About Us page, right? Like your brand story page. That's something that if you're not a good storyteller, if you can't think of a good story to put there, outsource it. It's not like you have a person that's like, your in-house copywriter. This is something like a one-time fee. You could pay someone to create an amazing brand story for you. It's worth it. When I also talk about copywriting, I'm referring to things, and by the way, the answer is yes. I'm also referring to things like actually doing custom product descriptions. So you probably know this if you've been following me or Dropship Lifestyle for any amount of time, but on our product pages, the ones that get most traffic, as we check through Google Analytics and we see our content reports, we'll go in there and we'll have custom product descriptions written. Now, it's something you could do yourself, but if, again, you're not a copywriter, it makes sense to pay someone a few bucks, have this done the right way. It will make a difference. It'll make you more money. It's definitely worth outsourcing. Because remember, in the beginning, you can wear many hats, but as you try to grow, as you try to build something super valuable, you cannot be everyone to your business. Now, I'm not saying like go into debt by like outsourcing all this stuff when you're first trying to build a store, but as you start making money, reinvest it into these things where you can. The next thing, guys, is supplier approvals. Now, we work mostly on the dropship business model, and we don't do it in a way like we don't use AliExpress, we don't use Salehoo, we don't use Worldwide Brands, we don't use any of those sites. We work with real suppliers, and that means we have to get approved with accounts for them. And that is why, guys, when it comes to supplier approvals, the answer is no, do not outsource this. Okay? A lot of the reason for my success in e-commerce and in dropshipping is because of relationship building. And it's because of suppliers that I have worked to get. Now, if I had, whoever it may be, just a random employee or outsourcer or VA trying to get approved with accounts, would they get some approvals? Sure, they would. But this is the business, right? Your suppliers, those relationships is a huge portion of what will make your store successful, which is why you should be the person that holds that key. You should be the person with that relationship. You should be the person sending a gift around the holidays to your suppliers, and you should be the ones getting, Christmas cards from your suppliers because you built that relationship. It's going to make a big difference in the future growth of your e-commerce business. Next, guys, Adwords. Okay, people get super intimidated. We spend a ton of money on traffic, and it's because it makes us more back, right? But should you outsource it? The answer for this one is maybe. And here's why. I know a lot of people that outsource their AdWords spend and do very well with it, but I also know people that tell me they want to build an e-commerce store and they want someone else to set up their ads and run them all and make them a bunch of money, right? That's not how it works. At least from my experience, in my opinion, until you set up your own profitable campaigns, until you understand Google product listing ads, until you know how AdWords works and which of your products are getting you an ROI, then I do not believe you should outsource this, okay? You don't want someone else spending your money trying to figure that out. Once you have a system that's working for you, then maybe it's a good idea to have someone manage your account and make improvements and make it better. But don't just think, hey, I'm going to start an e-commerce store and pay someone some money to manage my ads and my store is going to make me all this money. If it was that easy, then the person managing your AdWords account would do it for themselves all day long. Not saying there's not good AdWords companies out there. There are. But again, don't think that you're just going to build a new store and they're going to make you a ton of money. It doesn't work like that. Next one, guys, conversion optimization. I'm assuming we all know what this means. It means making your site convert better, so having more people buy. There are good conversion optimization companies out there. Those companies charge, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000, and they work with massive companies that have tons of traffic, right? Like Fortune 500 companies. For you, for your e-commerce store, if you're doing, 1, 2, 3, 5 million, whatever, don't outsource it. Do it yourself. Okay, like once your store is built, if you outsourced your web design and you have yourself with a great looking store, right? You already have that part. Then you can do optimizations on your own. In Dropship Lifestyle, in my training program, I go through all the tools that we use to monitor our traffic, to see what's happening. But once you have a system in place that's working, you can use those tools that we talk about and show you how to use in Dropship Lifestyle to make small changes yourself that will positively affect your conversion rate. And again, not something I would outsource because the companies that, in my opinion, are really good at it, they charge massive budgets because they work with massive clients. And it's something that, again, once you have a gorgeous site set up already, you can do these little things yourself. Next one, guys, SEO. Should you outsource SEO? And my answer is no, don't do it. Do not pay anyone to do SEO for you. And listen, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars with different SEO companies to rank for different keywords in our e-commerce stores. And guess what? It worked a lot of the time, right? They got us great rankings. The problem is when you're using SEO companies, if you're trying to rank like super competitive keywords, once you eventually get them, the buying intent is not there. With a lot of the stuff that we do rank for now on our own, things like brand names, product names, SKU numbers, it's not that hard to get there on our own, and that means it's not that hard for you to get there on your own. An example of that would be if you were selling, cell phones. Again, you wouldn't be, it's way too competitive, but if you were, right, you wouldn't be trying to rank for cell phone. You'd be trying to rank for, iPhone, AT&T, 7 Plus, right, like the models. So for the really competitive stuff is usually when you would want to outsource, but I'm telling you the reward is typically not worth it. So I would not recommend outsourcing SEO. For the basic on-site stuff, you could definitely do it yourself. That stuff is not that hard. Next one, guys, is product uploads, okay? Getting products from your suppliers onto your website. This is a huge thing that you're gonna wanna outsource sooner than later. It takes a lot of time, like working with CSVs, making sure the pages look right. It's a job, it's a big job. So this is something that I would consider a low-level task, and you can definitely outsource it. Again, probably something you'd wanna do sooner rather than later. One thing to mention here is once your VAs or once your freelancer uploads products, make sure you're going in there and double checking their work, because CSVs aren't just confusing for us, they're confusing for outsourcers too. And sometimes data can get kind of scrambled and you don't want any mistakes there. The last one, guys, that I'm gonna cover today is accounting. Should you outsource that? And my answer to you is as soon as you're making money, yes, you should. Find an accountant that's gonna handle your books, they're gonna follow your returns, they're gonna make your life easier. Because again, I'm sure if you're getting into this business, it's not because you wanna be an accountant. So don't try to find one if you're not making money yet, in my opinion. Wait till you make money, find an accountant, outsource that. They're gonna make your life a lot easier and let you focus on what you really should be focusing on, which is growing your e-commerce business. So hope you guys got value out of that. That's really gonna do it for this week's episode of Dropship Weekly. I'm actually about to start up a webinar, so that should be fun. Gonna teach a bunch about niche selection. If you guys don't know about our webinars yet, go to dropshiplifestyle.com/webinar to find out more. And if you got value from this video, please do give it a thumbs up or a like, and definitely subscribe at youtube.com/dropshiplifestyle. Really helps the channel, and that's a big reason I keep making these videos. So thank you guys, and I'll see you next week for Dropship Weekly.